Some people buy an expensive coffee without thinking twice, while others quietly feel guilty for spending money on a simple lunch after a long workday. Strangely, the difference is not always income, because money habits often reflect emotional risk more than financial reality. Some people grow up expecting money to disappear at any moment, and that feeling quietly stays long after life becomes more stable. Even with savings sitting quietly in the bank, some people still feel like they are one bad month away from a drawdown. Higher income can improve numbers on paper, but emotional volatility around spending often takes much longer to disappear. For some people, money quietly becomes more than a tool, because it starts to feel like the only thing protecting their future time horizon. That is why spending can feel strangely emotional, because the brain sometimes reacts to small purchases like hidden financial risk. Modern work life quietly traps many people in survival mode so long that enjoying progress starts to feel unfamiliar. At the margin, we look beyond spending habits to understand why modern systems make people feel emotionally exhausted around money. In this video, we explore why guilt around spending may come less from the purchase itself and more from fear that never fully left. Many people think financial stress only shows up when money is tight, but anxiety often stays long after income improves. The brain struggles to forget years of instability, especially when survival once felt uncertain every month. Bills, credit cards, and paychecks disappearing too fast quietly teach people to expect financial drawdowns. Over time, the body starts treating spending like risk, even when basic expenses are completely manageable. That is why some people struggle to enjoy what they earned, because financial safety never fully settled in. They delay buying things they genuinely need, not because of price but fear of future regret. The internet quietly makes it worse because every financial choice suddenly feels open to criticism. Coffee feels wasteful, vacations feel irresponsible, and even rest starts looking financially unproductive. Eventually, money stops becoming a tool for living better and turns into something used only to avoid fear. Living in constant emergency mode slowly drains mental energy even when the crisis already passed. From the outside, they look disciplined, but internally they are emotionally exhausted from always calculating risk. Ironically, guilt around money often appears most strongly in the people trying hardest to be financially responsible long-term. There is a big difference between being financially disciplined and quietly living in fear, but modern culture often treats them like the same thing. Financial discipline is supposed to create peace of mind, not make everyday life feel smaller and tighter. Some people were never taught how to enjoy money in a healthy long-term way and only learned how to fear running out. Over time, that fear quietly becomes part of identity until enjoying something small starts to feel strangely irresponsible. They'd buy something simple and immediately check their bank balance as if one small choice could ruin the future. In many cases, the real problem is not the expense itself, but the psychological pressure quietly attached to it. A brain shaped by scarcity mindset often expects volatility and disaster even when reality is more stable. When life once felt fragile, trusting that money can return often feels emotionally risky. That is why some people keep living like an older version of themselves even after their situation improves. This emotional side of money rarely appears in finance content because numbers alone cannot explain fear. Sometimes the biggest problem is not low income, but the inability to feel emotionally safe with money. And without realizing it, many people keep delaying their own lives while waiting to finally feel safe. A New York office worker once admitted online that even with a six-figure salary, buying new shoes still made him feel strangely guilty. Every small purchase triggered anxiety, even though the numbers quietly suggested he was financially safe. The deeper reason appeared much earlier, because money problems had shaped his childhood for years. After enough difficult years, the brain can quietly start treating spending like a long-term risk. This is the uncomfortable part of financial behavior, because emotional memories often influence money decisions more than logic. Many people think they are simply bad with money when they are actually recovering from years of financial fear and volatility. Modern adulthood rarely helps because rising costs often move faster than a person's sense of long-term security. People slowly begin living in survival mode, always preparing for the next financial drawdown before it even arrives. After enough difficult years, comfort itself can begin to feel risky, as if enjoyment might lead to regret. Eventually, some people become experts at surviving but quietly forget how to enjoy life again. Some keep saving for years without feeling secure, because fear often compounds faster than confidence. Because financial fear does not always disappear with more money, especially when old memories still shape the time horizon of trust. Some people feel anxious right after buying something online, even when the purchase still fits comfortably inside their budget. Their brain immediately starts calculating worst-case scenarios like surprise bills, layoffs, or emergencies arriving at the worst possible time. Modern life quietly trains many people to feel financially unstable, and that instability often turns into emotional hypervigilance around money. Instead of tracking money rationally, many people end up monitoring it emotionally like a constant source of risk. A healthy relationship with money is not avoiding spending forever, but using money without carrying unnecessary fear. Financial peace is not about never buying things, but not feeling panic after spending on something reasonable. And reaching that kind of calm usually depends on something people rarely talk about: internal safety. Because if your sense of security only depends on your account balance, life may always feel emotionally fragile no matter the number. The internet also quietly creates exhausting financial standards where everyone seems expected to optimize every decision. But human beings are not investment spreadsheets, and sometimes peace matters more than perfect optimization. Sometimes buying something that makes life slightly easier is not financial failure, it is emotional survival. Because money was never meant to make people feel robotic, it was supposed to help life feel a little more human. Many people do not realize they are dealing with financial guilt fatigue, where spending even small amounts starts to feel emotionally exhausting. Some people keep denying themselves small comforts until everyday life quietly turns into a long list of sacrifices. Over time, money stops feeling like freedom and slowly starts feeling like permanent anxiety. Financial stability is supposed to create breathing room, not quietly increase mental pressure. Life cannot stay in survival mode forever because even disciplined people eventually become emotionally tired. Sometimes saving becomes so extreme that it quietly starts reducing quality of life, even when it still looks financially responsible. Hustle culture rarely talks about how not every form of saving actually creates peace of mind. For some people, constant restriction teaches the brain to believe life never feels safe enough. That may explain why some wealthy people still feel stressed, because unresolved fear does not disappear with bigger numbers. Some people struggle to enjoy financial progress because mentally they still feel stuck in harder years. Life is not only about surviving longer, because sometimes peace matters too. And allowing yourself moments of calm is not financial weakness, even in a long-term plan. A healthy relationship with money is usually simple. Money should make life feel more stable, not quietly increase your daily anxiety. But modern systems quietly profit from making people feel like they are always one step behind. Not rich enough, successful enough, or productive enough, modern life always seems to move the finish line. Eventually, even taking a small break can start to feel financially irresponsible for people already burned out. Financial maturity is not only about saving more, it is also knowing when fear stops being useful. Because when money controls every emotion, life can quietly become smaller even during long-term financial progress. Some financially calm people are not always wealthier. They simply stopped living in constant panic. They still think about risk and uncertainty, but they no longer let money dictate every emotion in the room. That version of financial freedom often looks quieter than internet luxury and much more realistic. Sometimes peace of mind matters more than endless optimization because modern work already drains enough energy. Maybe money was always meant to make life feel slightly lighter instead of constantly harder to enjoy. Because money works best as a tool for living, not as a permanent reason to stay afraid. Maybe you are not bad with money at all. Maybe you have simply spent too many years feeling financially unsafe. When money feels unstable for too long, the brain quietly struggles to believe that life can improve even when risk slowly fades. Not every purchase is a mistake because sometimes spending money is simply part of living like a normal human being. Life is not only about accumulating numbers because the long-term value of money also includes being able to actually experience living. Modern productivity culture quietly convinces people that enjoying the result of hard work somehow feels inefficient. Everything starts to feel like it must produce results, as if even rest needs a return on investment. But peace of mind also has value even if spreadsheets cannot easily measure it over any time horizon. Sometimes buying time to rest or small comforts can be just as valid as reducing financial drawdown. A large balance alone cannot remove anxiety because money without emotional safety can still feel strangely empty. Most people are not chasing extreme wealth, they simply want life to stop feeling like a permanent emergency. Wanting stability is deeply human and not a weakness, especially after years of volatility and uncertainty. Maybe you did not fail at money, maybe you are simply exhausted from surviving for too long. Maybe our relationship with money is far more emotional than most people realize because old financial fears tend to stay quietly in the background for a very long time. Some people struggle to enjoy what they earn not because they are irresponsible, but because survival mode quietly became their normal. Modern life often keeps people under constant financial pressure, until stability feels strangely unfamiliar even after progress. Maybe the first step is not changing your whole financial life overnight, but simply learning to feel a little calmer around uncertainty. Not every expense is a risk, and not every small comfort deserves guilt after a long week of working. Life was never supposed to feel like a permanent emergency where every decision carries invisible panic. Financial maturity may simply mean using money with a longer time horizon without quietly punishing yourself afterward. If this feels familiar, there are probably many people quietly carrying the same worries while pretending everything feels normal. Subscribe to The Margin if calm conversations about money feel more useful than endless hype about getting rich fast. Have you ever felt guilty spending money on something you genuinely needed even when it made sense long term?